Halfway through a gruelling season, the World Rally Championship throws up its toughest test yet. A double challenge. The smooth, treacherous tarmac of Germany and the rough, high-speed gravel of Finland.
Get out. Okay.
Between them, just 2 days and a 2,000-kilometre dash over land and sea. For one team, this is the chance to put a miserable 6 months behind them.
This is where we start the season, and I think put a decent show in for the rest of the year.
But can they master both surfaces and take the rough with the smooth? It's a tough way to start a comeback. Subaru driver Petter Solberg's goal this year was to regain the World Championship he won in 2003. His new Impreza should have set the world alight, but from the start the car suffered reliability problems. Since then, Petter has been trying to squeeze more performance out of the car to catch his rivals. The super-fast Frenchman Sébastien Loeb driving a Citroën, and the experienced Finn Marcus Gronholm in his Ford. So far, Petter has managed to wrestle his car to just 2 second places. Now the team is going all out to take the next step to start winning. So an 8-week break between rallies in the middle of the season has been no summer holiday for Subaru. Instead, team boss Paul Howarth has been pushing everyone hard, rebuilding, testing and improving the car. Changes have been made to the suspension, brakes and roll cage, and component redesign has allowed a massive 35 kilos to be shifted around the car, lowering its centre of gravity, improving handling. But will this complete overhaul bring success in the double challenge ahead? 2 paired rallies, 2 days apart. They call it a back-to-back. First, the Smooth, Rally Germany, one of the only 4 tarmac events in the season. It's fast, technical, and in the wet, treacherous. Then the Rough, Finland, the spiritual home of rallying. Run on hard gravel tracks lined with trees, it's the fastest and most dangerous rally in the calendar. Before they leave England, the engineers must prepare for both. The chassis and engine will be the same for both rallies, but the trucks are also stuffed with brakes, suspension, engine cooling parts and tyres dedicated to each surface. It's also a double challenge for the drivers. Chris Atkinson, Subaru number 2 driver, grew up on the dirt tracks of Australia's Gold Coast, but he's learning fast how to handle the black stuff.
Tarmac cornering, a bit different to gravel cornering. It's all about a crossover between brake pressure and steering as you come into the corner. So do most of your braking in a straight line generally. You decrease the brake pressure, then you increase the steering angle, turn in and then do your exit, and then come on the throttle like that.
It's all about split-second timing at key moments. Get it wrong, and you're either too slow or you're gone.
See, in Germany, the roads are only as wide as the car, so it doesn't leave much room for error.
Subaru's top test driver, Terry Cabey, thinks gravel is all about confidence.
On gravel, once the car starts moving around on the loose surface, you do need the confidence to know just how far the car will slide. And if you're doing speeds in excess of 150 kilometres an hour, you know all of that happens very fast.
Okay, so we're approaching this hairpin. We're in 5th gear, braking now. Going through the box. Now the car sliding a little bit the other way just to get the momentum of the car to slide it in. The back sliding out. We're trying to control that. Touch of the handbrake. Steering into the slide, looking for traction. Trying to get the drive out in a straight line if possible.
The big difference from tarmac is the tiny adjustments made all the way through the corner, judged by the seat of your pants. two very different driving techniques. Two different mindsets for the drivers. But they can only succeed in the double challenge ahead if the team's engineers have really solved the problems with this year's car. With two rallies on totally different surfaces just 2 days apart, the Subaru team are ready to face part one of the challenge, the smooth tarmac of Germany. The rally is run in the valleys around the Mosel River. 3 days and 350 kilometres of timed stages on closed roads. Between stages, they must keep to speed limits on public roads. In total, they will drive 1,800 kilometres before the end of the rally at midday on Sunday. Odds-on favourite to win here is world champion and tarmac king Sebastian Loeb. He loves the surface and has won here 4 times. Petter has won 13 world rallies, but only 1 on tarmac. Like most Scandinavian drivers, he learned to drive on slippery forest trails and feels more at home on gravel. But he's hoping that 8 weeks of intensive redesign and testing will give him the chance to change that. On this year's tarmac rally, Subaru have drafted an ex-Formula 1 driver, Stefan Salazin. His experience in circuit racing should give him an advantage here, but his last 3 rallies have been disappointing. Germany is the final tarmac event of the year, so this could be Stefan's last chance to establish himself in the sport. Team boss, Paul Howarth, is impatient for better results.
We want to be in the top 5. We want to be closer, reducing the gap between the Citroens and the Fords on this surface.
Today's shakedown. The 4-hour practice session is a last chance to fine-tune the cars. Although there are no points at stake, rivalry between the drivers means they all want to get the fastest time. As expected, Loeb posts the quickest time of the morning on the 3.5 kilometre course, but more surprising is that Petter is only 0.02 of a second behind him.
Well, either everybody else has decided to drive through slowly, or we are closer to the opposition.
We have done a lot of work in the last 2 months, and the team have been absolutely on their head to make improvements, and it feels like and looks like we have done some good ones.
For once, it looks as though Petter's Impreza may have the legs to match Loeb on his own surface. Petter goes out for one more test run.
Flat 6 right bus, keep in, opens out long 200, 5 right bus, tightens, and cut short for left bus, opens, 150.
At 130 kilometres an hour, Petter has hit a tree. Incredibly, both Petter and co-driver Phil Mills are unhurt, but the car looks like a write-off.
On gravel we can get away with many things, but on tarmac everything has to be right.
Petter must wait for the engineers to decide whether they can repair the car in time for the start, now just 16 hours away. Paul decides to go for it. He orders a new engine to be rushed from HQ in England, but it won't arrive until the evening. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the technicians start to strip the car down. The damaged body shell is straightened out, rally style. The shell is squeezed, beaten and cut back into shape by a 20-man relay team. The evening before the rally, it's the all-star drive-through. For Petter and Phil, it's a walkthrough. At 11:40 p.m, just 11 hours before Petter is due on the start line, the engine arrives. Altogether, 89 major components are replaced. At 3 o'clock in the morning, with 5 hours to spare, the car is ready. The exhausted technicians have worked 350 man-hours. If this were your local garage, you'd be getting a bill for at least €14,000. Paul's faith in his technicians has been rewarded. Against all the odds, Petter has a car to start the rally.
Yeah, new car. It's not bad actually. It's 100%. So the only problem is that we didn't have the same geometry that we had on the shakedown yesterday, and that's how it is. I need to adjust the car a little bit this morning.
Weather always plays a big part in rallying, but especially on tarmac. Rain can turn a tight 100 kilometers an hour bend into a skid pan. But today the weather forecasters just can't say for sure where and when it will rain. So Petter decides to play safe and heads for the start of stage 1 on soft intermediate tyres.
6 by bus, 120.
The changeable weather causes chaos. Many drivers are caught on the wrong tyres. Loeb sets the pace, winning the early stages. After his big crash, Petter is rebuilding his confidence, but climbs to third place by mid-morning.
Well done anyway.
I took it very, very carefully. I didn't want to take any risk at all. I need to come back in the rhythm again after what happened yesterday.
Meanwhile, tarmac expert Stefan's choice of wet weather tyres is a bad call. He misses the showers and cooks his tyres.
So, a very soft car, everything soft, everything wrong.
After 4 stages, back at service, Stefan can change his tyres and his suspension settings to suit the drier than expected weather. At the head of the field, Loeb gets a dry run. With the cars running 2 minutes apart, by the time Stefan comes through, it's been raining again. A morning of wet tyres in the dry and an afternoon of slicks in the wet leaves Subaru's tarmac man down in 10th place at the end of leg 1. In contrast, gravel man Petter, in his hastily rebuilt car, has got his confidence back and is in 5th place. Day 2 of the German rally is run to the south of the service park on narrow military roads. The rain has gone, so tyre choices will be much easier today. From the start, Petter's closing on the leaders.
150, -5 on Grano. 6 right bus. No. Oh.
But it was too good to last.
Oh, just find somewhere to put it. Supervision, Bill.
5-4.
Yeah, we stopped engine.
It looks like an engine failure, but we never say that until we actually inspect the engine and find out what's gone wrong. But it sounds terminal.
Petter's engine failure leaves team boss Paul with a decision to make. Option 1, work like crazy to fit a new engine, take a massive time penalty and re-enter the rally with no chance of a good result. Or choose to retire the car and have a whole extra day to prepare for one of Petter's favourite rallies of the year.
Well, we don't want a retirement, obviously, but it actually gives us a bit of a jump start. It means now we can spend the next day and a half preparing Petter's car for Finland.
Although Petter's rally has been ended by component failure, he's encouraged by the performance leap in the car.
Many of the things that we have done with the car before this rally and for Finland has improved a lot, so I'm quite positive now, actually.
And his lucky technicians can look forward to their second engine change in 48 hours.
I think we've got a new engine coming about 9 o'clock tonight, so it'll be midnight-ish. We're getting quite used to that now, so never mind.
When the new engine arrives, the night shift clock on again. The last leg of Rally Germany is deliberately short to allow the teams time to pack up and get on the road to Finland. As the cars leave the service park for the last time, the drivers are just 68 competitive kilometres from the finish. After a better second day, Stefan Sarrazin is now 8th. He's just 4 stages left to impress the boss. But Paul just wants him to bring the car back in one piece.
You go for the boat, you got an hour.
Meanwhile, Ken Rees is starting his own race against the clock.
We're starting this pack-up now for the next few hours, but also the rally's ongoing, so we have to carry on looking after the cars as well and monitoring all that. So it's quite a busy time overall.
Ken now has the entire 60-person team under his command. They've just 4 hours to pack up the entire circus. Workshops, catering units, spare parts and, of course, the cars themselves into the 7 waiting trucks. By exactly 1:30 this afternoon, they must start the 2,000-kilometre drive to Finland. With the rally teams focused on the pack-up, it's hard to believe there's a rally going on. Only Ken is left to keep an eye on Stefan, 40 kilometres to the south. He's pushing hard to get 7th place. A broken gearbox is not what the doctor ordered.
We'll bring the car back here and we'll tire it.
Loeb wins Rally Germany, making it 5 wins here out of 5.
So there's a big hole in the side of the gearbox casing, we'll know.
There's no champagne for Subaru.
You don't know if the wheels are still spinning.
And Stefan tries to explain.
I did a mistake. I went straight on the mud corners and I lost my rally, so it's bad.
It will be Stefan's last drive for the team. His contract will not be renewed.
It's disappointing. If anyone says it was good, then you know, the result is not what we want to do. But the positive side of it is that the amount of effort people are willing to put in to take it forward, and the effort that went in before we got here.
And the weekend's problems aren't over yet. Now the car transporter's broken down.
Batteries have failed on the ramp, unfortunately. We need to make it work fairly quickly, otherwise we're struggling.
With a jump start from Pirelli and the 2 cars on the top deck, the convoy is finally ready to move off, only 15 minutes late. The Subaru team will be glad to see the back of Germany, but to have any chance of a good result in Finland, they must get the cars and 85 tons of spares and equipment to Rostock, the ferry port, in just 12 hours. It's the first leg of a 2,000-kilometre endurance race. No speeding, no room for a single wrong turn, and there's only 1 ferry to Finland tomorrow, and they've got to be on it. Zijn voor op het doek. The convoy arrives at the ferry port with an hour to spare. The trucks embark and 7 tired drivers can get their heads down. The journey from Rostock to Hanko in Finland will take 24 hours. The ferry doesn't berth until 7 a.m. on Tuesday, just 2 days before the start of Rally Finland. The rally has been held in the forest around the town of Jyväskylä in southern Finland for over 50 years. Tarmac rallies, like Germany, are high-speed events because of the smoother surface. But surprisingly, the hard-packed gravel trails and long straights of Finland are even faster. It's so fast that the locals call it the Finnish Grand Prix. Every year, thousands of spectators head into the forest to get close to the action. Keeping them safe from the hurtling rally cars is a priority for the organisers. Seppo Harjan was once a flying Finn as co-driver for Tommi Mäkinen. He won the Finnish rally an amazing 8 times. So he knows every metre of every stage like the back of his hand. Now he uses his experience to police the 22 stages that make up the rally.
The car will pass this place here, about 160 kph. And if anything goes wrong here, it's not going to stop in the first stone or tree.
The trouble is fans do get over-enthusiastic.
Seeing the cars passing, they want to see them close, little bit close, so we have to push them back.
Seppo drives every metre of the 350 kilometres to make sure that there will be enough marshals on dangerous bends and jumps. Apart from them, all that keeps the spectators from the road is a thin strip of plastic tape. It's the last lap of the journey. The trucks arrive at Hanko docks and there's just a 5-hour drive to go. The rest of the team have flown from Germany and are waiting anxiously in Jyväskylä for the convoy to arrive. Normally they have 4 or 5 days to get the cars ready, but not on a back-to-back.
We're nearly 2 days behind, aren't we, what we normally are? I think we'll have a few phone calls en route saying how far away, how much more, longer you've got to go.
Have you seen or heard from Mark? Not yet. I'm just trying to hang back and wait for him a little bit.
At last, after 2,000 kilometres and 2 days, the convoy arrives in Jyväskylä.
Plan now, get everything washed, get it parked up, get the big structure up, ready for the cars to go underneath, and then just start setting up. Finish probably somewhere near midnight tonight, hopefully.
Almost a kilometre of aluminium beams are bolted and slotted together and, like a giant construction set, slowly transform into the control rooms, technical areas, canteen and VIP entertainment. And, of course, the huge tent that will cover the workshop area for the rally cars. Tomorrow, the engineers have just 1 day to turn 2 broken tarmac cars into high-speed gravel rally winners. Part 2 of the Double Challenge. With 1 day left to go before the rally, Camp Subaru is ready for inspection.
What we see are the awnings up now, and the hospitality area is now being finished off inside. In the middle here, we still got boxes and containers which are going to be moved, and the setup bed put in there. The engineering office is functioning at the back, and all that's working. The team's area, I'd say 85% of the way there.
Overnight, vital replacement parts have arrived.
This is the gearbox that's just arrived from England. It got shipped out last minute due to the last rally. We broke 3 of the boxes. There's about 3 or 4 hours worth of work. Maybe 5 because I'm quite tired.
Director of Engineering Steve Farrell is overseeing the changeover of cars from smooth tarmac settings to rough gravel.
I mean, the World Rally Championship has got a great variation in venues, but that's probably the biggest contrast, really. And there are many things that get changed on the cars to adapt to the different conditions. Ride heights, so the car here will run about 30 to 40 millimetres higher than in Germany. It has to absorb bumps here, so we've tend to have softer springs. You have different damping rates to allow for the impacts, especially here where we have a lot of jumps.
Although there's still a question mark over the reliability of his car, the improved performance in Germany has given Petter a real hope that he can win the Finnish rally.
You're always a little bit nervous, of course, and thinking a lot about the setup, and because we have done a lot with the car, so I see a light in the tunnel now. It's no doubt.
But Petter faces tough competition here. Local knowledge is crucial, so apart from the world champion, Petter's main rivals will come from the Ford team's 2 Finnish drivers. Marcus Grönholm has won here 4 times before, and teammate Mikko Hirvonen lives just up the road. For the Finns, being fast here is a matter of personal honour.
If you've got stage records here, you're recognised as being the boy, really. So they get a bit wound up more than, they don't get wound up normally, but here they do like to. Serious big dog, should I say.
Steve is taking it personally too, determined to draw a line under the worst first half of a season Subaru have ever had.
We have done an awful lot of work over the last 2 months, and I think And we all think that we've made some good progress, but the ultimate test is getting out and seeing what stage times we are compared to everybody else. This is, for me, ground zero. This is where this is where we start the season, and I think put a decent show in for the rest of the year.
At Shakedown, it's first blood to Gronholm. Top dog on the 2 kilometre stage. But the real showdown starts tomorrow.
The real measure will be the first stage in the morning. A nice long stage to bed them in, and we'll find out where we are from that stage.
Petter heads off for the first stage of the day. Time to find out how he and his car really match up to the Flying Finns in their Fords. Ahead of him and the other 100 drivers are 347 kilometres of competitive stages. It's dogfight time. Former co-driver Lewis Moyer was the first non-Scandinavian to win the Finnish rally back in 1990. Now he brings his knowledge of the stages to the Subaru control room.
I did this first stage for the first time in 1988, and then it has been ever since in the rally. This bit here, it's along a farm, and it's almost straight. No, it's an open road. And then when you turn left, that's in the forest. And on dry, I think the average speed is 126 kilometers an hour.
Paul, Lewis and Ken can usually follow the driver's progress on screen as a GPS tracker is fitted to every car. But this morning, there's a glitch.
What's wrong with Petter's system, do you know?
But Ken's got a backup plan and tells his weather crews to get out some good old-fashioned stopwatches.
Okay. As the first car comes past, they set the watch and then we go on that. Sometimes you can't beat the old system, manual.
The Flying Finns get off to a flying start. Marcus wins the Lankamar stage with Mikko Hirvonen second. Petter is a close third. Ruumäki is only 7 kilometres long, but has in spades what Rally Finland is famous for: enormous jumps.
Somewhere along here, there are 3 consecutive jumps. Ruumäki has been very famous. There is a lot of people that goes there.
The crowds are gathering to watch the big jumps, but hundreds have camped out in the forest and have been drinking all night. Just 8 minutes before the stage starts, safety coordinator Seppo Harjan is worried and sends out safety cars to clear the stage.
This was a little bit risky, people. The young people with a bottle in the hand and still moving.
In less than 4 minutes, Marcus Gronholm will be screaming through here at nearly 200 kilometres an hour. If any of the drunken fans stray into the road, there will be a disaster. Time to call in the helicopter. If the helicopter doesn't clear the road, the stage will have to be cancelled. Just in front of the first rally car, the final safety car drives the stage at full speed. It's the last warning. The stage is finally cleared and the helicopter follows the first car off the line. Over the big jumps of Ruumäki, Gronholm stretches his lead. Mobe is second, with Petter just 2.3 seconds behind. Halfway through the day, it's back to Jyväskylä for a 45-minute service. As the technicians race to service his car, Petter is anxious to get his afternoon tyre choice right.
Not easy coming rain. Because it's more and more muddy and shit there. It's not like, they're driving across the road.
Based on a forecast from Ken that the stages will dry out, he selects hard compound tyres with cuts for extra grip.
Full attack.
Okay. The next group of stages contains some of the most bone-crunching jumps in motorsport. Literally. Last year, 2 co-drivers suffered cracked vertebrae from hard landings here.
Black crest, 115.
This year, no bones are broken, but the cars are suffering. The enormous jumps are testing chassis and suspension, and the lethal mix of high speed, mud and loose dirt wreaks havoc. Petter gets caught behind a damaged car and loses time. At the end of the first day, only 86 of the 101 starters are still running. Rally Finland is taking no prisoners.
It was so sleepy, I mean. Hui, incredible.
Because I had a harder tires on, so when I hit the mud, this was no grips whatsoever, so it was very tough, very tough.
Petter finishes leg one in fourth. He's struggling to keep up with the flying Finns, but with a day and a half left, he's still in the chase. Meanwhile, Chris Atkinson, Subaru's regular number 2 driver, has got his car back after lending it to Stefan for Germany. He's had a good day, driving consistently fast and finishing 6th. Petter reviews the day with his engineer, FX. He senses something's not right with the handling in fast corners.
You can feel it bending and you lose the inside wheel. I almost lost the car completely.
The changes over the summer have made a difference, but it's not quite enough. To try and squeeze a fraction more performance from the cars, they both get a gearbox change.
There's enough cause for optimism. It's an encouraging day, but really we haven't really done as well as we should have. Some of the things we can sort out for tomorrow. The rest of it's in the sky.
Weather crews at the moment are saying it's clear sky, 14 degrees. So it's going to be a dry day.
It's an early start and the team are determined to push for a result. With the car on the limit, the gap will have to be made up by Petter's driving ability. Paul set him his first target, to get back 3rd place.
Now we need to catch Mikko. He's on his own event, so he'll not be easily rattled. So we'll just have to push him and see.
Chris arrives for the 10-minute routine service allowed at the start of each day. But just seconds before he's due to leave, his technicians hit a problem. They've run out of gas used to pressurise the gearbox hydraulics.
It's going on here, this is the only way, and all we can do is...
Chris's engineer, Richard Thompson, takes control.
A pair of mole grips now.
If Chris doesn't get out on time, he'll get a heavy time penalty.
Yeah, no, it's late, it's late.
He leaves 3 minutes late and gets a 30-second penalty. Not the start to the day they wanted.
What the hell's going on with this one?
It's not a part failure. The late nights have caught up with the exhausted technicians. This time, it's down to human error.
When the transmission technician went to regas the system, his gas bottle was empty. We had to then run around and try and find a solution for regassing the accumulator. We used a welding bottle. The trouble with that, the bottle pressure wasn't high enough. So this morning, the gas pressure in Chris's gearbox is something like 15 bar when it should be 80 bar, and as a result of that, he'll probably miss a couple of gears on the loop.
So on top of his 30-second penalty, Chris must now drive the morning stages with a dodgy gearbox.
If the transmission doesn't change the gear and you're suddenly going to neutral at 200 kph, it's really quite serious. And Chris needs to be careful. He needs to kind of use his brain a little bit and just try and drive safely and get to the exit of the corner before he changes gear.
Chris is using all his driving skill to battle with the failing box, but he's slowing all the time. Petter starts 2 minutes behind him and is gaining fast.
Sean, head in right, double tighter.
70, hug long, 7 right, knee, then hug.
The gear change is getting worse, and 15 kilometres into the stage, Chris is unable to select gears at all.
Have we lost gears? Yeah, from the supervision, can you copy we've lost gears in the stage? Get out of the way. Yeah.
What gear are you in now, Chris?
The The team are worried. With Chris stopped in the middle of a fast straight, Petter could run into the back of his car.
Warn Petter, get out. Petter, okay. I'm in the road and I can't move. Can we got reverse? That's like the first.
Chris manages to select a gear and moves out of the way.
Reverse selected first. Neutral's in a gear now. I can keep driving to the end of the stage a bit, but... Yeah, we'll do that.
It's moving now. Yeah.
I'll let Petter go past. Yeah.
Petter's gone past.
Petter's on a charge and has already hit his first target of snatching third place.
Third of stage, 953.1, 53.1.
Okay, Phil, damn it.
Chris is now locked in third gear and faces 2 more stages before midday service. Petter and Phil are on their way to the next stage. Despite a fast time, Petter is still worried about the handling at high speed.
Do the same again now, Phil, then?
Yeah, how much of that is tyres, Peter?
No, it's not tires on that stuff, Phil.
Yeah?
No, I can feel it's the chassis.
Well done anyway, nice drive.
They're heading for Onimpoja, the most feared stage in World Rally.
All over the states there are jumps in these states, and there is one which is the most famous jump in the World Rally Championship, which is a jump that you arrive in 6th gear, probably 180 kilometers an hour, and the organizers, they always put marks after the jump to see who jumps further.
It's World Rally's long jump contest.
So you'll have the names of the previous drivers, the furthest on the side of the road. It's quite impressive.
So the main thing is that you just have to judge, okay, this time flat out, and you're jumping far, but you keep the speed up.
It's closer to flying than driving. Petter lost his spoiler here last year, but somehow miraculously got the car back on the road.
I think it's probably the most difficult stage in the World Rally Championship.
Keep out to the 6 left plus long, opens up a jump.
In fact, Petter is the fastest man ever over Onimpoja. 2 years ago, he broke the stage record with an average speed of 130 kilometers an hour.
Early short, 6 right minus with a crest, black crest, 200.
That was incredible. Even I get my hair going up from my arms when I see it.
150, minus 6, right into 6 left.
You have to take your brain out and leave it at the service area, and then go and take the stage.
This year, the drivers do their best to beat the 54-metre jump record. Cars take off from the big crest, jumping up to 5 metres off the ground. This is rally driving for real men. Petter starts the stage with his sights on second place.
Starting now, Lewis.
150. Line to 6 left minus.
Then it's just 2 minutes, isn't it? And then start to think about pulling over.
Once more, the team are anxious to get Chris off the road to give Petter a clear run. Chris pulls over, but Petter doesn't pass him.
Open to 40, 5 left minus long, keep in the... Supervision gone off at the stage.
No.
Hold on, I'll come back now. Just what? He was only 45 seconds in.
See any speed on him? The first thing I always think about is a crew. You know, when the said have gone off and you only hear one of them, then you hear no more information. It's a gap between getting we've gone off to having more information. So that time, it's the time after the said have gone off because you don't know the facts. I don't think of anything else. You can build new cars. Yeah. So, and you know here the speed of the event, and when somebody says they've gone off, you know it's a big accident.
Petter's car's rolled 4 times, but miraculously he's missed the trees. Petter and Phil are shocked, but unhurt.
Are you alright?
Petter's been up. Sounds good.
Okay, mate, so just take a minute and get a breath.
And there, so.
Petter's flown back in the safety helicopter. As soon as he returns, he reviews the accident.
Right left minus long, keep in the...
When I was inside in the car. I was thinking of hopefully nothing hits me inside the car, and I was stuck to the steering wheel very hard, so and luckily everything worked okay.
The driver's got something to hang on to. The co-driver's got nothing, so the best thing you can do is make yourself into a little ball and hope for the best. So, yeah, you don't get much time to think about it anyway, that's for sure.
As soon as the car is recovered, it's hidden away behind the service area. The engineers and bosses are quick to start the post-mortem. There's no question of repair, although Petter's first thought had been to try the engine.
I started it, I remember, and then I just looked on the left on the roll cage here, maybe not.
Safety rules dictate that if the roll cage is damaged, the car cannot be repaired. Petter's rally is over. Steve Farrell knows that the performance of the car has improved, but Petter's crash is perhaps the clearest measure of how much more there is to do.
I think we all accept that we've got a performance deficit to the other cars, and that sometimes he tries to make up that deficit himself, and largely he does, and largely gets away with it.
We are maybe pushing a little bit too much compared to what we should do, but sometimes there's no limit, but today it was.
I fully accept that a driver of that competitive nature, even if they haven't got the equipment to finish first, are still going to attempt almost the impossible. And in doing that, we're actually forcing him to drive beyond the limits of the car, and that clearly is going to be, you know, he is having to take more risks.
Well, guys, I just want to say a couple of words when you're here now. Sorry for what happened. That's how it is. We're trying very hard.
Petter may sound like he's apologising, but like Steve, he feels that ultimately the engineering of the car is to blame.
Many kilometers. So when you do, for example, 12, 15 kilometers, something changes in the car, and I don't know what it is. Everybody do mistakes. I did it today. And you will not prepare the car again. Trust me. So I just want to say thank you, guys. And
thank you very much.
Meanwhile, Chris's gearbox problem loses him 15 minutes. The rest of his event is used to test setups for the next rally in Japan.
Well impressed.
Marcus Gronholm wins Rally Finland with a massive 40-second lead over Sebastian Loeb. The double challenge is over. It hasn't been the glorious comeback the team had hoped for, but Paul can find plenty of positives.
The biggest motivator in the moment is that all the boys in the team and the girls come to win. You know, it's as big a part of it for them it is for the drivers. And what they're seeing over the last two events is actually performance. That is motivating them. So they know that if it all comes together, we will get the result.
I don't think that today's accident has made me rethink our strategy. We're going to take more risks in order to get the performance level of the car. Well, frankly, in order to win before the end of the year. What's the alternative? Is to say, well, hang on, let's just finish third for a little while. That's not a strategy, you know, for being in a competition. I certainly couldn't do it personally, and I think that's the accepted stance from everybody.
We've just got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. When the floodgates open, I've seen this happen so many times before. You go through these dry spells, and when it opens, it all comes together. The car's right, the driver's right, the team's right, and then it'll work.
But with Rally Japan just 14 days away, the time to get it right is running out. On their home rally, the bosses at Subaru have their pride at stake.